This video is sponsored by TeleMobile.
Most smartphones follow a predictable path, which is to say they evolve linearly, year after year, adding features and capabilities until they're so capable there's not much more to improve upon.
But as OnePlus has reminded us time and again, it does not make most smartphones. If you're a longtime OnePlus fan, you've seen major changes every single year. Sometimes the phone has wireless charging, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you can buy it at T-Mobile, sometimes not so much. The telephoto camera changes from 2x to 3x, back to 2x. The USB port on the power brick goes from A-type to Type-C, back to A. As we learned last year, even the signature alert slider isn't safe, having been deleted from the in-betweener OnePlus 10T, only to reappear here. The good news? Despite the maddening inconsistency of the brand that built it, the OnePlus 11 is actually a very solid smartphone, refreshingly devoid of a pro moniker it doesn't need, and with more positive than negative surprises hiding beneath its glossy surface. That gloss is Gorilla Glass, 5 on the back, Victus up front, and it's protected by a factory-installed screen protector that I'd like a lot more if it wasn't so cheap. As it is, it started to bubble and scratch within days of my unboxing, so I ditched it. That glass has been merged with the expected aluminum and forged into the expected elongated candy bar. Coated with an oleophobic finish that doesn't quite keep up with the fingerprint problem, buy the matte black one if you're worried about that. There's a rather uncommon IP64 protection rating, indicating it's dust-proof and resistant to splashing water from any direction. That explains the gasket on the SIM tray, which phone jugglers will be happy to know is double-sided to accommodate 2 5G SIM cards. Otherwise, the only standout in a physical sense is the obvious attention lavished on the camera module, which is big and, I dare say, quite beautiful in an outlandish kind of way. There's enough detail here that you don't actually take all of it in the first time your eye lands on it. Only with repeated exposure does the coin-like reeded edge around its perimeter pop out. And only in person can you truly appreciate the sense of flow that's been baked into the stainless steel. I like it. Well, we're already talking about it, so let's not bury the lead. The camera array here packs a new spectral sensor with 13 channels now, up from 6 or 8 on prior models, which OnePlus says lets it more accurately reproduce color. For comparison shots, I put the 11 up against my go-to still photo shooter, the Pixel 7 Pro, and while I fully admit it might just be that OnePlus is oversaturating a bit, I was surprised by how often I preferred the OnePlus result to the Pixels. And absent any context at all, I really appreciated much of what the 11 gave me. Before, during, and after shots of my dad's famous chili recipe, modified of course by me. Slotted shelving for tea accessories at a local coffee shop, modified also by me. Brooklyn, San Diego, on the ground, in the air, I got a lot of good stuff in my 3 weeks with this phone camera. Now, shutter speed is still a challenge. Fast-moving subjects at a dimly lit bar that just opened in my neighborhood were tough to freeze in the frame, and the same was true of this deeply unfortunate selfie. Ugh. But in admittedly easier static shots of the same bar, the OnePlus did quite well. And in a sunset selfie setting, its front-facing camera preserved more of the warmth and life in the scene than the Pixel's cooler rendering. And that makes the compromises OnePlus has settled for all the more frustrating. I've said it before, a 2x telephoto on a 2023 phone is a waste of space. And that's borne out when we start zooming in. The quality starts buckling at 5x, it bounces back sometimes at 10x, but then really falls off a cliff at the maximum 20 times zoom. Where, to be fair, even the Pixel can't always deliver a winner. But at least the Pixel is in the conversation. Combined with the edge and dynamic range that you just knew was going to go to the Google Pixel, the aforementioned blur problems with fast-moving subjects, and the fact that the Pixel's video is a slightly less offensive flavor of bad, well, I would take the Pixel camera if I were forced to choose one of these. When you remember that OnePlus paid camera legend Hasselblad $150 million to kick off their strategic partnership 3 years ago, you're justified in wondering whether it was all worth it. Here's my answer.
From a results standpoint, absolutely not. I'm going to drop this camera the minute the review is done, and I don't think I'm going to miss it. But from a strategy standpoint, I do think it was worth it. Because while this may be a compromised camera, at least it's not a boring one.
New this year is a portrait mode that's specifically tuned to replicate certain Hasselblad lenses. Also new are a handful of Hasselblad Masters Mode color filters to amp those portraits up or lend some attitude to your landscape shots. You've still got the Pro camera controls with RAW capability, and my favorite, that weirdo X-Pan mode that I last covered in my Oppo Find N review. Oh, and let's not forget, no matter what camera mode you're in, a custom capture sound based on the distinctive mechanical shutter release from a Hasselblad camera. Are they gimmicks? 100%. But they're fun gimmicks. So they soothe the sting, or at least take the focus off those photographic compromises. And if that happens to enough people at the purchase point, well, I guess the thinking on OnePlus's part was that the $150 million was worth it. And you know, I would wager that that's the way the numbers have probably gone. You know, people often ask me how I keep so many phones in my daily rotation. A big part of the answer is a lot of SIM cards, like this one from my sponsor, Mobile. Over the past 2 months, from Brooklyn to Raleigh to Vegas to Punta Gorda and beyond, Tello has kept me connected with a plan I built myself. Unlimited data, text, and calls. Can I tether with mobile hotspot? Yep. Can I use it in all my weird foldables and imported GSM handsets? You bet. Price? Just $29 a month. You can get a phone from Tello or you can bring it yourself. You can choose an eSIM if you want to instantly activate a compatible phone, and if you want to pay even less than I do, you've got options all the way down to $5 a month. That's probably why Tello is rated excellent on Trustpilot. It's premium phone service without the premium price. Hit the link in the description and tell them MrMobile sent you.
One place OnePlus doesn't compromise is in performance. And for the first time in a while, I can say that I actually noticed this time.
When I was shooting with the camera, I never missed a shot because I was waiting on the phone, which is more than I can say for the sometimes pokey Pixel. You definitely feel the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 and the upgraded RAM that OnePlus packed in here, which is amped up by smarter memory management and a very fast, stunningly beautiful display that I immediately forced to maximum resolution because, well, that's the way I figure the target customer will use it. And no, that didn't impair my battery life. I always made it to the end of a day, even a heavy one, with no problem. And when the time came to recharge, I was absolutely floored by that charging speed. Remember, I skipped the OnePlus 10T, so seeing a phone with a 5,000 mAh battery go from 0 to full in less than half an hour, with a charger that comes in the box at no additional charge, I was genuinely stunned. Almost as stunning, but far less fortunate, dropping the phone on a wireless charger to be greeted by the flashing light of an error code. Look, I don't mean to harp on this because I know it doesn't matter to some people, but this is why it's hard to trust OnePlus. This company resisted adding wireless charging for years, and when the criticism became too loud to ignore, OnePlus finally said what some of you are probably saying in the comments right now: wireless charging sucks because it's too slow. So, OnePlus built a phone with wireless charging that was faster than anything else sold in America. Bra frickin' vo, I said. Finally, I also said. And now that those OnePlus 9 customers are ready to upgrade, well, the charging docks that they may already own are useless to charge the OnePlus 11 because there's no wireless charging of any kind. Same for the extra cables for the SuperVOOC chargers they may have bought, which have switched back to USB-A from C from A. And I'm still missing the pop-up selfie camera that gave me the uninterrupted display canvas that OnePlus taught me to love, only to then cruelly yank it away in favor of a generic hole punch. Decisions like this just reinforce the perception that as cool as its phones sometimes are, OnePlus just isn't capable of staying consistent. That as much as it likes to say that it's a different kind of company that truly listens to its community, the reality is that it's mostly just another phone maker, slowly being merged into its sister company Oppo, itself just one brand in a portfolio of assets owned by yet another multinational Goliath. But if you don't care about any of that, the good news is that the good news is still just as good as it was at the top. The OnePlus 11 is slick and speedy, and while you can't get it at a carrier store in the States, the unlocked price is competitive enough. It's $1 under $700 to start, topping out at $799 if you want more RAM and storage, or you just like the color green. That's proximate to current Pixel pricing, depending where you shop, and the OnePlus 11 gets enough right that I do think it deserves to be there this year. And to end on one last piece of potentially good news, it should last a long time too. OnePlus promises 4 years of Android platform and 5 years of Android security updates, a level of software support longevity that up to this point only Apple and Samsung have committed to. Of course, I say potential because whether that actually comes to pass will depend on whether OnePlus actually decides to pick a direction and follow through for once. Given the company's track record, I'd pick another reason to buy this phone. But fortunately, in this case, there are plenty. This review was produced following 3 weeks with a OnePlus 11 review sample provided by OnePlus, but I never give manufacturers any editorial control over my review content. The company did not approve, contribute to, or even see this video prior to publication. The lone sponsor of this review is Mobile. Until next time, from Michael Fisher, thanks for watching. And stay mobile, my friends.